Hi, ladies and gentlemen, if we can grab our seats. We have one more panel. This is sort of like the main event. I know we had to tease you this morning with John and Susan and those folks, and then Scott and I tried to bore you to death with sales and marketing. Now we have the people that have actually succeeded in life. So yeah, we just amping up the whole thing here. But we're very lucky this afternoon to have four distinguished gentlemen that were kind enough to answer my email and my phone calls, so they're certainly at the top of my list of favorites. But I'll let them take the time to introduce themselves in a little bit and talk a little bit about what brings them here today. But we have Harry Arnett from Callaway Golf. At the end, you probably know Harry. If you don't know Harry, you're going to find out real soon who Harry is. Odie Vincent III, Alex Bethal, and C.A. Roberts. So we're very lucky today to have these folks. Have a round of applause for them. So the over-under is that I can only say 6 more words. So I'm going to pass the mic to CA, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself. And
over. That's 14.
Yeah, I can't count either. Here we go. So what am I doing here?
Just talk. Tell us about somebody you care about.
Well, I'll just introduce myself. I'm with OB Sports. We're a golf course management company based out of Scottsdale. And it was founded by OD's dad, Orrin Vincent, who hopefully you guys know, terrific individual, certainly someone I want to talk about today. And I've been with Orrin for 20 years at OB Sports in a variety of roles, some sales and marketing, some business development, and then now as president of the company, and been Orrin's partner now for 15 years. So I got to see the golf industry from a lot of different perspectives, and so pleased to be here today. Thanks.
My name is Alex Bethal. I'm a co-owner and CEO of our family business, which is called Raj Swim. We're a leading designer and manufacturer of ladies swimwear. I've been in the family for 50 years. Also in the sports industry, I'm co-owner and executive director of the Sacramento Kings. And most importantly, I was Eric Lohman's roommate in college.
He was a good roommate, by the way, I'm telling you. Nice guy.
Boy, you must be a patient and man with a lot of endurance to make it through that. Odie Vincent, great to be here today. I've been lucky enough to grow up in the sport of golf up in Lake Tahoe, Nevada at Edgewood, when my dad really started up there. And I have had an opportunity to do a bunch of different things in golf after playing. I coached 3 different universities and worked for the PGA Tour for a period of time, and now 3 months ago started with Montage, overseeing their golf and recreation. So I will pass it over.
Hey, I'm Harry Arnett. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Callaway Golf and the President of Ogio, which is a brand we bought in January. Been there 5 years, was at TaylorMade for 5 before that, back when we had a lot of success there, and continue that on with Callaway. Thanks for being here. Did you ever eat any of Alex's stuff when you guys were roommates? Yeah, most of it?
I slept in his bed a couple
Slept in his bed? Okay, we'll get to that a little bit later.
It was close quarters, but not that close.
Statute of limitations are over on that.
Well, good. We're going to jump right into this. So Harry, since you have the mic, we're going to start with you. So I got to know Harry a few years ago when Harry, I think, had just started working for Callaway. And we were fortunate to have Harry here, and Chip Brewer, the CEO of Callaway Golf, and I think you all had just been there for a few months possibly. You came and you spoke to the Metro chapter, and we had an audience such as ourselves, and I remember leaving that thinking, you know, I think these guys might be okay moving forward. They kind of sound like they know what they're doing, and I'd like you to talk a little bit about your time spent at Callaway and sort of what in the past, who maybe guided you a little bit, because if you don't know Harry, Harry has his own TV show. He's probably the aforementioned strongest marketer in golf, and just all around good guy.
Self-proclaimed strongest marketer in golf. I've been, like I said, Callaway 6 years, and I think we were here. Rob and I were talking about this in the back. I think we had been together. Chip and I, we've been together. Sounds like we're a couple. We behave like a married couple sometimes, but. For about 2 weeks at that point. And I think that probably what you sensed was we had a very clear vision for what we wanted to do with the turnaround of Callaway and the business. And I think that what hopefully we were able to convey then was really keeping it very, very simple. Very similar to what you guys were talking about in the last panel, is trying to, in essence, mobilize a group of 2,000 employees around the world to really, in essence, be of service to the people that we do business with. And obviously we sell golf equipment, so everything that would have to go into being the very, very easiest company to not only do business with, but to have the people that would have trust in us to literally invest money in Callaway. And for golf professionals, that can't be understated, that you literally are investing money in Callaway to help not only push business results, but to have your membership and the people that come to your facilities want to come more and want to play more golf, want to bring their families, want to create sort of a community. And we were really passionate about creating that environment, not just within Callaway, but for everybody that we did business with. And so far so good. We've kept it out of the ditch. We have had a lot of great products over the years, but I think what we've really started to do again is build a lot of trust among the staff professionals that we have around the world.
So, I mean, you woke up one day and you just said, this is what I need to do, or did somebody sort of point you in the right direction? And how did you get into the business that you're in today?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of listening. And I think we said when we were here, right up here, we want to do a lot more listening than we do talking. And we listened to pretty much anybody that had an experience with Callaway or people that were a part of the company, whether they're staff professionals or tour players, or a lot of consumer research that sort of told us not just where we were, it gave us a really clear idea of what we wanted to do, what kind of company we wanted to have, what kind of buzzword, what kind of value proposition we wanted to have for all of the key stakeholders that would, in essence, help us create a sustainable, profitable, long-term business for Callaway, which, at the time, that was really critical. When I first got to Callaway in 2012, we were getting, you guys know the numbers in golf. Golf's not a very big industry. We were scheduled to lose $80 million in 2012. And then Chip and I joke, 4 months later, we achieved our first number. We did, in fact, lose $80 million that year. So, but from that point going forward, it was a pretty systematic approach and staying very disciplined to the things that we felt we needed to do, but also keep it simple enough so that the rest of our employee base could feel like they would have input into where we're going, which is what we've done.
Now, several years ago when you were here, you talked about this vision. Do you feel like that you've accomplished that vision, or where are you along the path of your master plan? Or your
I don't think you ever
plan?
accomplish your vision. I think that's the great, if you keep your vision broad enough and your frame broad enough about what type of company you want to be, that's the great part, is that everybody feels like they're part of that pursuit. And I think that we wanted to dream big enough so that we never would really feel like we fulfilled that and pack it in, but we also keep our options and our culture in a place where we're constantly evolving. And you see that, like, even with an example of acquiring an OGO, just to add more pieces to an overarching vision to be the best premium performance golf brand in the world. So we'll never get there, I don't think, because competition is fierce, and our vision of what we think is the very best continues to evolve.
So on a more macro level, you see companies like Nike Golf unfortunately close their doors for hard goods. You see a recent sale at TaylorMade where it probably sold for a third of what at one point it might have been valued. Yet Callaway seems to be going in the right direction on upward mobility and taking more market share. So more macro question, is golf okay, or are you just kicking ass and taking names?
A little of both. I think golf, in the right places, golf is doing great. I think that the places where golf really struggles are the places that really have not created a compelling value for the golfer, as the times are changing, literally, where people have less time to spend at a club, or less time to dedicate to playing the game. But the places that Callaway does business, those are the types of places that still are thriving. Membership is up. The participation rates have finally stabilized, I think, for the first time in about 4 or 5 years. But what we've been going through in the equipment world is we were way oversupplied. The companies that you mentioned were probably helped driving that. It was part of one of them, is the difference between what was selling through and what was held in inventory. That's really what we've seen come down. And with that, some retail consolidation has added to some of the bad PR that golf has in terms of it being a shrinking industry. But I think if we as an industry can keep, again, broadening our frame of what we think playing the game is. You guys mentioned Topgolf before, which is a company that Cali has an equity interest in. Is all of that is really pushing the boundaries of what we all consider to be the playing experience. And if we do that, I think the industry's going to be just fine. But you go to a place like this, and there's still lots of golfers playing golf and enjoying it. And I think the thing that we can do together is how we talk about the game really has a lot more emphasis into the positive things that come from playing the game.
Perfect. If you would share just a little bit of the direction and your desire and your accomplishment with Callaway when you came on board, you created your own production company, and you created a lot of internal in-house marketing opportunities. Was that, you inherited that? Did you bring that with you from TaylorMade? Was that an idea that you had and you were able to do it with Chip's allowances? Or how did you come to the ability to pull that off?
Shook him down. Yeah. We were thinking more about the consumer and more about the golfer and the desire of the golfers that we felt really were the ones that were driving the value and the interest in the game were folks that were all about avidity and playing a lot of golf and talking a lot about golf. And what we saw on the landscape had swung so much towards a narrow-minded way of engaging with those golfers that we wanted to be much more about talking to and communicating with them every single day. So this was 2012. We didn't use the term daily engagement like we do now, but it was all about creating that constant engagement with the golfer. And to do that, we had to totally transform the way that we talked about Callaway, that we created ways for people to learn about us and our products and to learn how to use them better. And we took much more of a curated learning experience, curated learning approach to the golfer, that the way that different people learn, you guys know this because you deal with golfers all the time, is so different. You can't just say, well, this is the best way for a person to learn about any subject. So we wanted to have a much more multimedia approach to it. And the only way that we could do that was to free ourselves from the tyranny of the old ways of doing things. And so we created our own internal production group so that we could create, whether it's podcasts or video series or just 10-second videos. Primarily it's video, but video every single day. And we went from, I know the numbers, in 2012, we did 40 videos for Callaway a year. 40. And now we'll do 40 in a week. So it's really that way of people of experiencing a brand, learning about it has really changed a lot over the last 4 or 5 years. We were joking. We have the show that mentioned. It's called Cali Live. It's about it's really trying to show consumer that the world of golf that we participate in is a lot broader than just tour players and golf company or where you play golf. It's in an ironic way, golf is the most democratic game there is. That someone like me could play golf with business heroes or athletes or obviously tour players or people in the media. And we had a guy on the show recently, hasn't aired yet, who's one of the preeminent journalists in political journalist, and he was joking that now he writes for the New York Times, and they joke that he'll produce a 10,000 word article, and his editor will say, "Can you boil this down into an infographic?" So the way that people are learning about stuff, even if it's instruction or the game, is changing so fast that we have to behave like a consumer in how we would create engagement for them. So that's what we did.
Very cool. So talk a little bit about the Ghetto Boys and Vice Sports and how that all came to fruition. And I appreciate the fact that you like good old-fashioned Southern ghetto rap.
Yeah, of course. Who doesn't, right? Again, I think that we as golf have done a disservice to allow ourselves to be positioned as this elitist, Caucasian, rich guy sport. I love that part about golf, but it also is just one little section of golf. And the guy you mentioned now is a guy named Scarface. Is he here? Scarface here? He's not here. I thought it might be part of the section. He was here yesterday. And well, you're in a unique position because you see a lot of these types of folks being close to the entertainment industry, obviously. But that here's a guy in Houston. He was a part of this band called or hip hop group. I guess they don't call them bands, but hip hop group called the Ghetto Boys. Dang, it feels good to be a gangster. Do you know that song? No? Anybody from Office Space? Yeah. So this guy Scarface, Brad Jordan's his real name. He plays 160 rounds of golf a year. Passionate about golf. And he lives in Houston, Texas. Anybody in Houston that plays golf knows Brad, plays golf with him, and he is as big an influencer and as big a promoter of the game as I've ever met in my life. And the outside world would think there's no place for a person like that in our game. There's not, because he's I didn't mention this, but he's an African American man. I was waiting for some laughter. He's a black guy. He doesn't dress like we do. I bet you he's never even heard of Peter Millar. I'm certain he doesn't own a quarter zip. If he has a blue blazer, he's done something to it to wear it ironically. But he is not only, now let me put this in ROI terms, if he's a member of your club. My guess is he spends $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on golf every year. And authentically, he's not out with what you would expect hip-hop golf to look like. He's playing, and he's a member of a private club, and he plays everywhere. And so we thought that was really important for people to see that's what golf is. That's a broader look at the game and giving people like Brad more opportunity to access the game that we all are dedicated to.
And for those of you that haven't caught any of those videos or know what Vice Sports is, because I didn't really know what it was until you guys started talking about it, they got some really great videos, and they feature different people, walks of life that don't necessarily relate back to what we generally do. Just a really neat way to promote and market yourself and grow the brand of Callaway Golf. I'm going to come back to you in a little bit, but I'd like to pivot to kind of somebody who I've admired for a long time. Anybody who grew up in the Palm Springs area know the Vincents and Odie. I'm going to let him talk a bit about himself, but the man, when you go in the dictionary, you put overachiever, the man is right here. And there's a lot of us in the room that I think could say that, or at least are trying to be that way, but Odie's got a pretty neat career in golf, continuing his new job at the Montage. But Odie, just you have like 6 minutes to tell us about yourself and your jobs that were pretty neat.
You're not going to ask me questions, Eli?
I think you can handle it. I think you're going to be okay.
Well, first off, again, great to be here with this panel. I've spent most of my time listening, and so I know how long these days can be, and we're at the end of them. So my goal is to make sure that I don't make your day any longer, but add some interest to it, ideally. These other gentlemen up here, but as I mentioned in the intro, I've had a lot of unique experiences in golf, and I played after I went to Washington, played afterwards in Europe, This is always my favorite week of the year with the Open Championship coming up because I just had the chance to tee out there once and just will never forget that experience and appreciate a lot of what you talked about as far as the spirit of the game. You can find a lot in just traveling around and seeing what golf means over in that country. But then I worked with CA in OB Sports and was developing a couple golf courses, and I was the gopher. I did just about anything and everything I needed to be because I was really affordable and very, very eager. And so I was a perfect guy for those jobs. And then when I was 27, I got a chance to go to Washington, my alma mater, and coach again. And they were at the time the 10th best team in the Pac-10 at that time, so there was nowhere to go but up. And you know, and they paid me I think a whopping $33,000 a year to coach the team. So and I couldn't wait to start. And I spent 6 years there. The better looking of the Lohman twins is here today, Mr. Chris Lohman, who was on that team that inherited me as a first-time coach. And I think the value that I learned there is I knew that I really, really wanted to do the job. I knew that I had no idea how to coach, so my first meeting started out with the fact that I had no idea what I was doing as a coach. But I also knew that they had no idea what they were doing as players based upon their past results. So we were all in this together, and we could all help each other. And so I spent 6 years doing that. And then I went to UCLA and coached there for 5 years. And then went to Duke University and coached there for a couple years. And then I actually got back into college administration and worked as a senior associate AD at the University of Washington. We oversaw football and a bunch of our external areas, and we ended up building. We also, I don't know what the theme is here, but the previous coach was 0-12. Mr. Sean Cox there was he's a Husky football alum. He knows the program all too well. And we hired Steve Sarkisian at the time, and the program started to build back and built a stadium. And you know, there's actually a lot of experiences I learned there being responsible for the revenue in that stadium. A lot of the similarities that I know of in golf, that I hear about, that we talk about in golf, but they're not unique at all. To try to get somebody to spend X number of dollars on season tickets and spend the time and you know, game times change all the time and park and all it's hard to get people engaged in live events, and it's a huge challenge, and it's again no different than our industry. And then I went to work for the PGA Tour, ran the Northern Trust Open, way back when it was the Northern Trust Open, and did that for 3 years, and then ran the Power Shares QQQ event last year at Sherwood Country Club, first ever playoff event on the PGA Tour Champions. That was, again, a unique experience. And then a montage opportunity. If you know Greg Villeneuve, Greg is obviously one of the most experienced and qualified operators that I've ever been around. Did a great job leaving us a great foundation there at Montage to operate the properties within our portfolio, and then ideally take those out. And the unique thing is, I think about any and all of that is all of the jobs that I've had the opportunity to have. I don't, besides the Washington job, I don't think I applied for any of them. And they all came to me in different ways, and they all came through people who knew people, and they were people at the time that had, fortunately for me, a favorable impression of interacting. But they were also folks that I didn't need to necessarily take care of at the time, but they eventually worked their way into that position, and it ended up working out. And you know, again, one of the lessons I've always had is that, you know, it's much more important the person you are, again, out there playing than what you shoot. And I think golf has so many great qualities, but always taught me that as a young age, that you always treat people, you know, that way, whatever that way is, and it's paid off and paid dividends throughout my life, and hopefully will continue.
I think the only job left would be for you to work for Harry. I think you've pretty much done the full gamut.
I don't know if I can keep up
golf.
with that.
What's left, really?
I mean, my blue blazer, I don't know what you think that is, but
You're not wearing it ironically.
So growing up in Palm Springs, and obviously we know your father, I mean, maybe it's your dad, but what role models or mentors kind of helped guide you to the path that you're on today?
Well, I grew up in Tahoe, and my dad was a pro at Edgewood, and it's seasonal climate. You know, you got maybe 100 good days a year to play there, and you know, you're out of school in the summer. And the best thing my parents ever did is, you know, is if you work in a seasonal climate or have, I mean, you work every single day for however many months it is, and you get there at 5 or 4, and you leave there at, you know, midnight or whatever it is. So my only ride to the golf course was with him. And I think my parents intentionally did that to make sure that if I really wanted to go out there, that's what I would do. And so I always grew up in public golf, and Edgewood is a busy golf course. And so my only way to play was to tee off first. I was breaking every cart driving rule at that point, and probably at 12. And so I would go out and I'd play 18 before the group behind me got to 9 or 10 T, and then I'd play the back 9 ahead of that group. And if you've been to Edgewood, number 15 T swings back, and then I could play 15 through 18 again, and then I could swing back and play 17 and 18. So before about 8:30, I got a few holes in, and then went to the snack bar and then hit balls all day. And so, but I think it was a blessing growing up in a seasonal climate because I never got too burned out because you do the same thing skiing in the winter and keeps things fresh for you. But you know, I always played golf kind of on my own terms and you know, didn't have real expectations. Got good enough at it that it was something I enjoyed competing in, and I love competing and doing. And so, you know, I think again the lessons are numerous. I do remember, you know, I unfortunately probably remember all of my mistakes more than the successes. But I remember that I was playing an older kid at the golf course. You know, I don't know, 16 and I was 12, and I thought I should beat him, and I didn't. And I was about halfway through it, and I decided to, you know, pout, throw clubs, do all those real attractive things, and then I walked in. And you know, before finishing, and I remember being confronted with my father after that, which did not go over very well. I probably couldn't say exactly the words that were exchanged at that point in time in front of this group, but needless to say, it hit home, and it was always finished. So fast forward a number of years ahead, another embarrassing story, and it was about how many years ago that is now, in 1992, playing in the Austrian Open. I shot 92 in the opening round, and then I followed it up with an 87 in the second round, which is probably still the highest 36-hole total ever in the history of the European Tour. I don't know if you've ever had an impact where, I mean, literally, the thing does not square up. I don't even know what you call it, but it was wide rights, and unfortunately the first hole had OB right, and I made about a 20-footer for 14 because I hit 5 balls out. And what I learned through that is there was guys complimenting me afterwards, like, you know, because there's no fine for withdrawing. But my point is that story stood with me. I mean, I never at one point in time considered, you know, packing it in, which my playing partners would have preferred about halfway through the first round packing it in. But stuck with it and always, you know, kind of finish what you started. So I would say that would be a real life example of that.
So, I mean, obviously we know your history of being a great junior golfer, amateur golfer, collegiate golfer, now professional golfer. And at some point you hit the wall, right? You're not on TV anymore, unfortunately. Sorry. How did you know, pivot or rotate into the business world, and do you still carry that competitive spirit? Do you use your competitive spirit in business? Does it help you, hurt you?
I compete when I get in the car and drive home, so I don't really know any other way to do it. But yeah, I actually transitioned out of it pretty quickly. I only have 2 speeds in golf, and this gentleman that's asking questions was paired with me last week, so he knows the slower speed because he just experienced it. But where I either play or I don't. I mean, I went for 9 years in between turning in scores that, you know, where you actually post a number next to your name after that. So no, I think again, to me, it's the lessons. I love the sport, and you know, you kind of compete through coaching. Mr. Chris Heinz here, the dapper-looking gentleman here in front, either had the good fortune or misfortune of playing for me at UCLA and being a part of that. So you know, it's the relationships you have. But you know, you live in the coaching world, and especially at the universities I was blessed to be around. It's no different. I mean, I cared probably more about their games than I did of my own. When you got 5 different scores going on at once versus 1, it's a lot to keep track of for a guy like me.
Awesome. We're going to introduce someone else now. So Alex Bethal and I've known each other since college, and I can tell you Alex comes from a wonderful family, deeply rooted in Orange County with Raj and the philanthropy. And I got to know Alex, I think he was a pledge, and you know, we ended up getting paired up for roommates. And I can't say I liked all the people I inherited from my monthly dues, and I didn't respect all of them, but I can tell you that Alex was one that was incredibly sharp, and you could tell either interacting with his family, his sisters, the same way that you know, future was going to be extremely bright, and Alex was not going to screw up anything, you know, inheriting mom and dad's company and such. But the most important thing I think with Alex is Alex wouldn't really go to class, he wouldn't really study, and then like an hour or 2 before he'd go to bed the night before a test or a paper, he would just kind of power through it. And I think he got like a 3.98 at UCLA, and then he went to grad school at SC. And I'm just thinking to myself, you just son of a, you know, how do you pull that off? But we're proud of Alex, and I'm happy that you're here. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you get to do on a daily basis?
Well,
I do on a daily basis. If I shot a 92, I'd be really happy. So our family business is Raj Swim, like I mentioned at the beginning. So we design, manufacture, and sell swimwear. That's distributed globally. Our company's been in business for 50 years. And my sister and I purchased the company from our parents in 2006, so a little over 11 years ago, I guess now. And through the years, the company's evolved and changed, and we're evolving again. I think a lot of the same points that you guys are seeing in the golf world and Callaway are relevant in all consumer branded products. The focus on being digital and consumer centric is really the most important. That message I've heard throughout the day this morning, and social media and the connection with the consumer is critical to any business's success. And what we see in the business and how things are changing, there used to be, when we're talking about customer segmentation, there used to be different groups of customers that you can kind of easily identify and serve that customer through your products. Nowadays, every consumer is their own niche. So it's much more complicated, it's much more difficult, but for those who are able to create content, directly interact with the consumers, there's a lot of rewards for it because the industry, the retail industry, is going through a lot of change right now. So that's a little bit of background. We design swimsuits for many big brands. We do Reef, Nautica, Elamos, Splendid, Lux by Lisa Vogel, Athena Next. So some of the brands are owned, some of the brands are licensed, and then we also do private label through for big retailers like Dillard's and Title IX and Athleta and accounts like that. So that's our main operating business is the swimwear. 4 years ago, our family, along with some partners, purchased the Sacramento Kings basketball team. That's been tremendous experience. We haven't won as many games on the court as we'd like to, but on the business side, it's incredible. We built the Golden One Center in downtown Sacramento, which is a state-of-the-art $577 million arena. The first indoor-outdoor arena with these 5-story hangar doors that open up so you can actually play a game with doors open. It's the first LEED Platinum arena in the world. We won Sports Facility of the Year by the Sports Business Journal this last year, so we're getting a lot of awards and accolades. That was an incredibly exciting thing to be a part of as we've built the arena and opened it last October. And then adjacent to the arena, we're developing a 16-story mixed-use tower with condominiums, a hotel, and 650,000 square feet of restaurants and retail. So it's very similar to like what Staples Centers has at LA Live. And the hotel opens next month. So we've been really busy on the real estate side, getting that up and going. It's a total of $1 billion investment in downtown Sacramento. So it's really exciting to be a part of. You can see the whole city's behind it. It's revitalizing the downtown area. The housing market up there is booming, a lot driven by the investment that's gone into downtown. And that's kind of what I'm focused on now.
Well, it looks like you woke up and went to school finally. So I would text Alex during the draft and say, you got to trade this pick and this pick so you can get Lonzo Ball, and they didn't. So, Lakers 1, Kings 2, but we'll talk about that later.
Ball's looking pretty good.
Ball's looking pretty good right now. So obviously, you've done extremely well. You're interacting with a lot of important people in different walks of life. I mean, did you learn that through business school? Did somebody help you out? Were you emulating your dad? How did you come up with your own personal, agenda and your own personal way?
Well, I mean, we all are products of our environments and the imprinting that we have as we grow up. And speaking to mentors, I think it's clear my parents are my biggest mentors. They taught me hard work. They taught me focus. They taught me the importance of execution. Stories about my dad. I remember I was hired, I think I was 10, and I was hired for the first time to pull the weeds in the garden outside the office and file some checks or something, and found it a lot more interesting to spin around my dad's chair because he had a cool chair, and my dad fired me that day. So I think we just kind of learned from example. I think they were great. They didn't really coach or teach too much. or kind of tell me this is what you should do or this is how you should do it. But the way that they imprinted on me was leadership by example. And that's something that I learned from them, and I hope the people within our company would say the same about me, is being in a leadership role. It's important to work hard, to set an example, to have strong values, to do the right thing always, not focus on short-termism, but rather take a long-term approach. And if you just do that, then people see that, and then those become their values.
Tell us a little bit about your family's history in sports and how you came about purchasing the Kings. I know there was another opportunity that didn't work out. And obviously today, if you read Forbes or anything, the value of the team is exponentially greater, the future is brighter. How did the Falls make that good decision?
Well, I think taking a couple steps back, it actually started in the golf world because my mom played golf at UCLA. So she's a Bruin. She wore her blue and gold on the golf course. And then my parents met and started the swimwear business. And they always shared a passion for sports. My dad originally came from India. He immigrated here for university and university studies, got his MBA, moved out to California because that was the place to be in the 60s. And they shared that passion of sports. My dad learned watching football as a I guess, college student. He kind of fell in love with sports and team sports. I played sports growing up. All the way through, and when I was in high school, I was playing football, and my dad had an opportunity. He had some connections and friends, and wound up co-founding the World League of American Football, which was 50% owned by the NFL, 50% owned by local owners. So he owned the Orlando franchise. It eventually became NFL Europe. I don't know if you guys remember what NFL Europe is, but it was basically trying to take the NFL internationally. So from that experience, he made a lot of friends. He sat on a couple NFL boards and stayed in contact with them, and always with the intent to, at the right time, find a deal, purchase a team. We had a couple near misses along the way and lots of investigations. We almost bought the New Orleans Hornets at the time in 2012. And then that deal fell through, and the next year we had an opportunity to buy into the Kings, and so we did that.
Pretty cool. To my right is actually one of my mentors, C.A. Roberts. C.A., tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are. And for those who don't know C.A. as well as we do, or I do, and some other folks in the room, I was fortunate enough to be decent enough at golf to play on the AJGA Tour, and C.A., I can't remember what year it was, but I might have met C.A. when I was 13 or 14 at the Woodlands playing in a tournament, and C.A. was a tournament director or a regional operator for American Junior Golf. And then fast forward a few years, I'm begging him not to fire me, and then fast forward a week or two, he's hiring me to be head director of sales and marketing guy. And so we're very lucky to be led by C.A. with OB Sports, and I'd like to hear a little bit about how you got there.
Thanks, Elo. Yeah, we're, all kidding aside, we could all pick on Elo all day long. That'd be the easiest thing for us to do. But we're real proud of him and how he's progressed in his career. I mean, for a guy who's a real, bullshitter, let me just say it that way. Let's get it out there. He's really good at his job. He really is. I mean, this place, I was drifting around the golf shop anonymously yesterday, and it's just really well run. And he's one who's he's a lot like Odie in the fact they said, is he competitive, Yes, very competitive, and Elo's that way too, and he's always had the tenacity of getting it done. And you guys probably know from being in his section, he's a guy who's always performing and always getting it done. I know I met Hide through him, and Eric supported Hide very well. Remember, you kind of supported him through an interview, and Hide was being kind of quiet, and he's like, no, this is the guy you want. This is the guy you want. We were actually at Montage interviewing him. I'm not sure why, but we were over there. And then now for Hide to go on and have his own club, we're proud of him too. So, not only Eric are you proud of what you've done here, but you're living proof that you're developing mentors, and that's a great sign. I had a disadvantage at a young age of my father dying early when I was young. He was a preacher, And I never really got to be a preacher's kid. My 3 older sisters were. They were kind of stereotypical preacher's kids, you know, rebelling and all that. But he died when I was young enough. I never really knew him as a preacher and didn't even really know him real well. And so that was a disadvantage. But I guess, you know, in keeping up today's theme, it was an advantage for me because I did latch on to mentors probably more than other people did. You know, Odie has a great relationship with his dad, so he's not an example, but I would say I had better relationship with a lot of my best friends' dads than they did. I would kind of milk them for information or what I could learn, and so I think it's a great topic because you learn from a lot of different people, and I was one who would meet different people and still do, people I'm fascinated with and want to try to learn from them. You know, I did work at the AJGA. Do any of you guys run AJGA events or know the AJGA? You know, they're a great organization, and they do as good a job of mentoring as any business I've ever met. They produce great young staff interns. They encourage them to go on to the golf business, so they kind of have a built-in advantage of, you know, young men and women coming out of college. So they're kind of getting started. But boy, does Stephen Hamlin, who's executive director there, does he train people well. And we've had so many staff members that have gone on to great jobs in the golf industry. You know, Peter Ripa, if any of y'all know him, runs the tour event down in San Diego. We've got 8 full-time tournament directors, kind of like the Northern Trust, that are AJGA former alumni. I think there's 15 people at the tour, at least that many at the USGA, college coaches all over the place. So they did a real good job of effective mentoring. And Stephen Hamlin was a military guy, so he's the kind of guy I would give a proposal to, and hey, here's a proposal I'm writing to try to, and he would just mark it up with red ink, and it would just be gushing blood, you know, and I'd have to go back and change it. And he would always make me better, though. He was always someone who would get you to the next level. And what can I, even though he was harsh, you know, it's kind of the Bobby Knight approach. Yeah, he'd beat you up, he'd even raise his voice at you, but he always followed up with, how can I make you better? And what do you need? What are you missing that we can do to get better? Then I come to work for Orrin, and I remember first week on the job, I had to write a big proposal, and I worked on it real hard, and I put it in front of Orrin and said, okay, Orrin, here you go. I want you to edit this for me. And he kind of handed it back to me. He was like, well, I'm sure if you think it's good, it's good. And I'm like, oh shoot, you know, I'm gonna go start over. I don't like that approach, and I wanted the red ink. But you know, Orrin will give you enough rope to hang yourself, and if you're talented, you're a producer, you know, he'll motivate you. So I mean, and I've learned so much from Orrin. You know, Scott said it very well in the last panel about being operationally perfect. You got to be that first, and then you can focus on what can we do to make it fun, what can we do to be different, what can we do to be out of the box, and all that stuff's great, but if you're not operationally perfect first, it's all a big waste. And Orrin embodied that so much, and I've learned from he and his wife, they're real role models to me and my wife, even on how to, you know, now as an owner of a business, you know, how to run family, how to balance work and family together. I'm sure everyone in this room probably works way too hard and has that same work balance. And those are things that I really am grateful to have spent the time I did with Orrin and picked up on him how to balance those things, which to me are more important than how to, you know, get into management contract.
So at Obi Sports, it's like a triumvirate at the top of the food chain. There's Orrin, yourself, and then Phil Green, who's more of the operations gentleman. How did the three of you coexist? Because it does appear, you know, most face value, most companies have kind of a chief, and then there's a few sub-chiefs, but in your case, there's really 3 people at the top. How does that work for you folks at Obi Sports?
It's worked out great for us because, you know, we all have very different styles and very different goals. I mean, Orrin is always the kind of the godfather of our business. We all defer to him. We look to him for, you know, guidance and leadership. Phil's a wonderful problem solver. He's kind of like Stephen Hamlin I mentioned. Phil will wander into, I mean, he's like a first responder, man. He'll go into any situation and work to get it done. And then I focus, you know, most of my energy on relationship building. And, you know, we get invited to be in a lot of management contracts. I know John McNair does a wonderful job with his company. We're always competing, and you know, we know that that when we go in and pitch, no matter how hard we try, when we walk out, they kind of think we all look and sound the same. I mean, it's kind of like Harry said, we're all kind of boring guys in blue blazers. So no matter what we say or do, we do look alike. So just like John's company defines themselves in certain ways, I think it really, for us, it helps us that at least at this point in our company's history, that we're privately owned by the three of us. We don't have any outside investors, so we can make deals that we want to make. We can be nimble and hopefully not make wrong deals because we're not chasing investor returns, and it's a real benefit for us.
Thank you. So this is kind of an open-ended question for everybody on the panel. And maybe I guess it's open-ended, but I'm going to start with Harry. Does that make sense? Yeah. We've talked earlier, some of the gentlemen spoke and both ladies spoke about that they sort of emulate or mimic or kind of watch the competitive set or the competition. They learn from other people. They try to do what they do, but improve upon it, maybe get creative. In your case, I could be mistaken, but you might be the person that people are going to try to emulate. So how do you stay current and forward-thinking enough, knowing that your competitive set hopefully is paying attention and they're going to try to follow right behind you?
Yeah, that's the key is having an environment where innovation is one of the most important shared values. And when I say environment, is having an entire group or organization that's not just looking towards whoever happens to be appointed the leader to make the decisions. And that begins with just giving the space to have the conversation. And I think that any company or organization or entity that's had some success, the danger is that you think everything that you touch inherently is going to work because you've had success, and you really forget the fundamentals of how you became successful to begin with. And we don't have a formal process for that, but we definitely have a common shared set of language where we are not afraid to critically examine the things that we're doing today in order to continue to innovate, to make Callaway the leading brand for golfers and the people that we do business with. And it's really hard. It's really hard to look at the things you think are really good and walk home and you expect your wife and kids to tell you how great you are, and boy, you've done a great job, Dad, at Callaway. It hasn't happened once. But really to look at the things that you've done, whether it's a product or a marketing initiative or a relationship or a contract, and think, okay, well, we have this process perfected. That doesn't create a great environment for young people to come up into. You really haven't taught them anything. So what we try to do is as simple as give the employees of our company and the people we do business with the space to give us feedback. And that gets back to what we mentioned before, which was really being more of a listening mindset than in a talking mindset. And I think that as long as we can keep doing that at Callaway, I feel pretty confident that we'll be, at least if not leading, we'll be on the lead lap. Which so far we have a very humble executive culture. I think that definitely permeates throughout the entire organization, the people we do business with.
And how do you, in your other businesses, how do you stay current and competitive? Your golf course management, there's a lot of competitors in that space. What do you do, or how do you analyze that to continue to push forward OB Sports? Are you content with just me working for you?
With us, I can't remember which one of your panelists before, maybe it was Robin, that was talking about being a problem solver. And I think that, one of the things that I've learned from, mentors, I mentioned Stephen Hamblin, was really being prepared to solve problems. All of us in this room, not just as panelists, try real hard to get ahead of problems and to foresee them, and to have trained staff and everything to go well. But you need to really, really be ready every day for something to go wrong. We need to be ready for something to go wrong at golf courses or with a contract or there's legal. It's stuff just, guys, and all of you know, not just John, but all of us, stuff just comes at you all day long. And you need to not slump your shoulders, and you need to not, oh boy, take a deep breath, but just be like, yeah, this is what I do. This is what we're prepared to do. Let's solve the problem. So if someone calls and says we've got a municipal course in Tucson that needs help, you try to solve the problem. Sometimes that means saying no, you can't help. Sometimes it means doing it. But I try to treat it all like it can go away tomorrow. And for me, that's always been, it sounds negative, but then I'm going to be ready every new day to earn it. Yesterday's success doesn't mean darn thing.
Yeah. Odie, you're new at your new position at the Montage Group, but with some of your past experience, what kind of ideas or programs or philosophies will you carry on towards your new company and your folks?
Yeah, well, again, I think because as you can tell, we've moved a lot of times. So it's been 3 years in a place or 5 years in a place or whatever, and in really different industries. What that's afforded me is to actually find the commonalities between all of them, because I think we all get into a situation where we think that our set of circumstances is so unique, and I don't know that it is. And in my own experience, I've found very few innovative, cutting edge type of thought in the industry that I am in at the time. To me, it's kind of a compilation of finding, if I'm watching a television commercial on something, or if my kid brings something back from school that has some, promotion or some way, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to get to the same end. So to me, it's kind of like a Mr. Potato Head that you take and you take a little of that and a little of that. But I think in the collegiate sports, it's all about signing up for this list and best practices and all these things. And again, just for me personally, I've had very, very little value of that. It's given me an idea of where the barometer is and where the current sort of environment is. But I've always tried to start with where I want to go, and I think I've been willing, and CA said it well, I think I've been willing on a daily basis to sort of zero-base budget my life and start all over again and figure out that, and I don't spend a lot of time on something that's not working very well. I mean, you got to be able to, I think some of us get so invested in our ideas and it's so unique, and we try to see this thing through almost through, just that good old determination to finish it off. And I think sometimes you got to pull the chute early and be smart enough to reevaluate and still get there. And you can't lose. The most important thing is getting there at the end of the day. And I think all of us, no matter what your role is, we're all in the people business. So I spend most of my day in any and every job I've had. And these two guys I had a chance to coach. I love these guys. And even though I don't talk to them every single day, and I haven't seen Chris for a long time, I think they know that if they came knocking on my door and need whatever, that they're going to have that, because you invest your life in that, and you invest your life in people. And so I think I've carried that trait through to every position I've had, since then, whether it's 900 volunteers at a PGA Tour event, or our associates up in Montana right now. I try to understand what motivates people, because everyone's motivated, in my opinion, differently, and I think you have to change the way that you communicate with those people differently, and they always have to be top of mind, because whatever corporate policy you have, or whatever this is, or it's casual Fridays and work from home, and whatever the newest greatest thing is, none of it means anything if it doesn't actually really hit home with the people that matter the most, which is the people that are ultimately on our team and locking arms and moving forward together.
I know, and Alex, in your case with your family and now with the Sacramento Kings, you get to interact and see firsthand the James Dolans of the world, some of the Mark Cubans, and some of these owners that either maybe are a little bit more face forward for whatever personal reason, or it appears to the general public that they either don't know what the hell they're doing, they're too rich for their own good, or they need a lot of help. But I understand with your folks and your involvement that you most likely will be on the right path. So tell us a little bit about the path and how you're going to avoid being, put in that category of the Donald Sterlings of the world.
Getting back to the ghetto boys. Well, the way that I was raised, the way that our family approaches things, we believe in hiring the best people, professionals, and letting them do their jobs. I mean, certainly when we bought the Kings, we have a partner who's more face forward, and some of that is just kind of an experience, and he's certainly learned a lot, and we've worked with him on improving our culture and our outward face. But for us as an organization and where we're going, it's really, the Kings are a community asset of Sacramento. So we want to be the first and foremost, the most important thing in town. And we're doing that through investing in the city. Secondly, by building a team that the community can be proud of. We have, I think, 10 or 11 guys who are under the age of 25 on our team. They're all top draft picks, young guys who we're building for the future. We may not be good this year, but I think that the city, and we're now being recognized nationwide for having a plan for the future. And you can't take shortcuts. That's one thing that we learned very clearly, is you can't take shortcuts in sports. You have to build things from the foundation up, and it takes time. And so investing in the city, being a community asset, building the right way with the team. And third, we really believe in the international opportunity of the NBA, of helping the Kings and the NBA grow internationally in China and India, Mexico, and Europe. We think the sport is on a tremendous upswing. That is represented by the valuations and the TV deals, and it has potential to be really special and a rival to soccer as the #1 sport in the world.
So, given the responsibility that you and your co-owners and your family have, how important is when you draft somebody or hire somebody that they generally come with a good reputation and they don't really have a felony background? Or how important is that for you? Because it doesn't appear that it's important for everybody.
Well, I'm really happy to say that we are emphasizing culture and attitude way more than we ever have in the past. And again, going back to shortcuts, if you build your team around bad character guys or guys who are in it for themselves above the team, you will not be successful in the long run. And we've had tremendous talent in Sacramento, but we haven't been able to put together winning teams over the last few years. And I think it's safe to say we can do a better job in the future by having guys who put team first.
And given with Lonzo Ball, we talked about Lonzo Ball. What's your take on his dad and how he's been? And is that good, bad, or indifferent?
He's very entertaining.
Nice answer, Alex.
I was just thinking. I've sat here. The people that have made the biggest impact on my career, and you'd asked the question earlier about mentoring, and I'm hearing from the panel up here, are the folks that the most successful people to me that I really look at as, whether they're official mentors or official, is they have a passion for learning no matter where they are in their life. And when I'm listening to Alex talk about the Kings, I'm certain that he and his family are looking outside of basketball to think of how they can build a better mousetrap for the Kings, because at the end of the day, there's only one team that gets to hold the World Championship trophy. And if that is your only goal and aspiration, the very, very best who has the most championships, Boston, I guess, they're unhappy 75% of the time then. So you have to be able to create a better way of being successful. And I was sitting there watching this. Is this part 3 right here? It's got to be. I watched like 5 groups come through, and 5 guys hit the same exact shot. They kind of hit a little or big slice that landed in the front of the green here and rolled down in the water. Did you see these guys? And I watched all 5 guys like traipse down into the pond to look for their golf ball, and over a period of time, and I'm not a golf course operator, and I thought, well, that'd be a cool thing to like just go down there and put a golf ball retriever right on the edge there for these guys, and with compliments of, I just having kind of a passion for observing and problem solving and learning. I get to meet a lot of really interesting people through my job, fortunately, because so many people like golf. And my wife has always asked me when I go home, she's like, oh, I get to meet this person that day. And it's such a drag to meet these really successful people that just talk about themselves all the time. The best people that I end up have been being mentors are the ones that are really engaged in what is going on around them, no matter who it is. To talk to them about what they're doing, what their life's all about, what are the biggest problems facing you guys here, and really having a passion for being engaged in that sort of human contact. And those are the types of people that generally are right at the epicenter of these really fantastic cultural changes that happen within the groups or the organizations they're responsible for.
You know, at this time, I think we'd open it up to the floor if there's any questions. I think we have the catch box. Are there any questions on the floor? Grab the thing and breathe into it.
So I'm born and raised in Sacramento. So first of all, thank you, and Mr. Ron DeBay for keeping our team in Sacramento. As you know, it was first and goal, and you guys, the Kings had one foot out the door. So just thank you for what you did. And as a Sacramentan, the Kings are a source of civic pride, and I know Chris Granger was a big part of that. And could you maybe just talk about him? I know it's kind of selfish because not everyone else knows about him, but kind of just speak on his leadership role, and was he a mentor to you in any way? And what do you guys do going forward to kind of replace that role that he's going to lead?
Great question. Chris is an incredible guy, and I'll just give a little background. Chris was our president at the Kings. He came on board when we bought the team in 2013. His background was working at the NBA office under David Stern, so he was very entrenched in league-wide operations, and we hired him specifically to lead the effort to build the new downtown stadium in Sacramento. He is an A-plus player, A-plus person. He has been a mentor and a friend and a colleague. We knew that we weren't going to be able to keep Chris in Sacramento forever. You're talking about people's path in life, and Chris, his journey is yet to be complete. He will do something even bigger and better on his next journey. He worked for us for 3.5 years, for almost 4 years, and what he does, he actually doesn't have a new thing lined up yet. He's talking about doing some very big, very exciting things. And what he's done for the city, he was really kind of the face of the franchise. He led the effort on all the construction, and we are as bummed out as the city to see Chris move on.
Also, by the way, De'Aaron Fox is going to be better than Lonzo Ball. Just got to throw it out.
I agree.
Time will tell on that one. He certainly won that last game. Any other questions from the crowd? Eric?
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of talk about, one of the big things, and I heard it up there a few times today, is hiring the right people, making sure that the people that you hire are the right people. How important is it that you give them tasks and let them be involved in solving situations, that they're making sure they're engaged in the process of helping you? I think that is huge in the mentorship, is making sure people feel involved.
I think it's the most important thing. When we one of the enjoyable things about our company getting bigger is that we have more talent to feed from, and so not only do we want to empower those people, and not only do we want to help them as a management company, but we want them to feed from each other. So I like it when Eric and Rob Hessler, who's here from Taharis, can get together with David Stead from Langdon Farms and Jeremy Hammond, guys that I know he respects, and they can really energize each other with good ideas, and not just be getting corporate mandates and corporate ideas, but so I don't know, for those of you that aren't in management companies, it's easy to pick on management companies, but that isn't a real advantage, is the collection of talent that you get to have and to watch them feed off each other. So it wasn't quite your answer, but your question's the right one, which is getting the right people and then giving them, it's kind of like my Oren example, giving them enough rope to say, hey, show me what you can do. I'm not going to tell you what to do, show me what you can do. And Jeremy Hammond, guys that I know he respects, and they can really energize each other.